When it comes to co-op games, most players only want to have two basic needs met. We want to play with others for long periods of time, and we want to have fun while doing it, whatever that might be for us. The point of co-op games is to enjoy the thrill of playing games with other people, whether that means competing against each other for glory or just having a good time with friends. For me, a great co-op game is one that not only allows you and your fellow players to work together in interesting ways, but also challenges you, whether it's in how you interact with each other or how the act of being in a group changes up the game. Titles like Overcooked force you to communicate outside the game with your partner to get the job done, while the better Ghost Recon games encourage you to work together to perform a strategic takedown, as long as you're not fooling around elsewhere. While it's a simple concept in theory, finding a truly great, balanced co-op game isn't so easy. Things like loading times, server issues, toxic communities, repetitive content, and more can mar the experience. That's why for every decent co-op game, we get something like Anthem, poor Anthem, that crashed and burned thanks to a number of factors, including some less than stellar gameplay. Outriders, the newest title from People Can Fly and published by Square Enix, has been shrouded in mystery since its announcement at E3 2019. We got to play a couple hours of the game at a recent press event and discovered that it's actually a unique kind of co-op game, a narratively linear experience with RPG elements that supports up to 3 players but can be played solo. This is a huge change of pace for the multiplayer space. There are plenty of games where you can play through a single-player campaign with the option for multiplayer, but few where that is also the pitch. For example, the Borderlands games let you join into groups of up to 4 people to tackle the story, while Left 4 Dead 2 presents a few chapters that you can tackle either with a group or solo. However, in both of these examples, one takes precedence over the other. Borderlands is more of a single-player game with a well-balanced multiplayer component, while Left 4 Dead 2 is frankly a multiplayer game that needs to be played with others to get the most out of it. Outriders, on the other hand, presents a more equal balance between single and multiplayer. It puts the story first, but blends the multiplayer in such a way that it doesn't feel tacked on. The main campaign is a solo story where you play as an outrider, a type of mercenary that was tasked with preparing a planet for colonization, but a supernatural force called the Anomaly causes it to all go very wrong. This causes society to go to hell, but also grants you and a few others with flashy powers that you can use to put humanity back on track. The fun of Outriders multiplayer is how it utilizes these powers. There are 3 classes currently known to us: the Pyromancer, the Trickster, and the Devastator, with another one on the way ahead of launch. Their abilities are exactly what you think they are. The Pyromancer uses mid-range fire and lava-based abilities, the Trickster can warp space and time, and the Devastator is a close-range tank that can pound the ground. Players can choose from each when starting up a run, and can then configure their skill tree for their playstyle. There are similarities between the classes, but each one is different enough that it can greatly affect how people will play. The real kicker though, and this is honestly the coolest part, is how they work together. What you discover when playing Outriders is how classes can combo different abilities. For example, I played a Trickster, and my teammate was playing a Devastator, so I could slow down time around the enemy, leaving ample space for my teammate to go in and cause maximum damage. The lead level designer noted how important it was to synergize the different classes. Small things like ensuring the battle spaces were large enough to accommodate the players were considered as part of the design process. Even more interesting is how the game doesn't limit you to just one of the 3 classes. If you want, you and your teammates can all play the same class. Of course, you'll be missing out on more unexpected combos, but developers noted that this was taken into consideration as well. The game will also attempt to balance the difficulty with a world tier feature. As you play, the game can ramp up the difficulty and move you onto a higher tier. If you want, you can lower it as you play with others so that everybody can play on a comfortable level. Despite the attention given to the multiplayer aspects, there's still a lot of story here. Over 40 hours of it, including both main and side quests, the latter of which you can play multiple times. The prologue, where the colonization effort goes awry, is slow and a bit meandering as you learn basic shooting and plod through important setup. But once the game gets going, you realize that there's even more to unpack and a lot of mysteries to solve. What is the anomaly? Why is it impacting humans this way? There are also a lot of characters to meet and environments to explore. Stepping outside the first hub doesn't involve you teleporting to a combat arena. You instead enter it naturally, which makes everything feel more connected. The story was a key component of Outriders' development. Studio head Sebastian Wachkowski told me, "We felt like current games are missing this element. and we felt like it's very important also to create this kind of connection between you and the protagonist.
This is real. Believe me, it's fucking real. So whether you like it or not, you're stuck here in the mud and shit like the rest of us.
However, throughout all of the details announced by People Can Fly, the one that raises the most questions, but also is worth looking out for the most, arguably, is that it's anti-live service. The developers on hand at the event were adamant about this point, stressing that the game wouldn't have pay-to-win microtransactions. What you see and pay for in the game is what you get. Wachkowski said, "We are gamers as well, and we know what we don't like. So we wanted our first game to be what we would like and what we would play ourselves." He added, "Let's give the players, for their money, everything. There are no additional drops that will somehow enable you to play more. Everything will be in, including game content." How this will shape up is uncertain. The final release is still a long time away, but this, at the very least, puts Outriders in its own category. No elements are separate from each other. Even its preview state, it's easy to tell that People Can Fly wanted the game to be one consistent unit. Despite it having a single-player component and a multiplayer one, they're still one game and don't feel separate. I do want to reiterate that we just got a small peek at Outriders, and it won't be out for a while. It's currently slated for a holiday 2020 release on PC, PS4, Xbox One, and next-generation consoles. And if this year has told you anything, that could change. However, if you're a fan of co-op games and are looking for something a bit different, maybe something that understands that the single player is just as important as multiplayer, or something that's just a change of pace in this oversaturated market, maybe Outriders is just what you need.